This program brought to you by Brewski's Bar and Grill, located in Utica, Minnesota. Your one-stop shop for delicious burgers, fries, pizzas, and more.
Are you ready, Mr. Frake?
Let's give it a go.
Let's give her a go here. Show number 11. Here we go. Calisthenics in the background, getting all jazzed up. We're ready to go.
Amazing.
Kung Fu fight. Anyway.
We got a crowd here tonight. This is a crew.
Yeah, they're back for us on our Thursday night. That's what they're happy about. We're here on Thursday night at the Rainier Muni to tape show number 11 of the Sports Wrap with George and Ringer. And
Number 11. Oh.
Number 11. We're in the double digits, and we'll see how things go. And
yes, we are.
so, where are we going to start? Do you just want me to just bear in, or you got somewhere you want to go?
No. We've got the whole hour here.
We've got a whole hour.
You generally pick it up.
Let's start with Bronco sports, I think.
Yes, I think
We'll start there. Winter sports are in full effect. The girls hockey team got things started last weekend on the road. Had a chance to listen to the game on Friday night on the radio station out of Browerville. The play-by-play guy was very good. Did not have a color guy. I think if he'd had a color guy, he'd have given themselves a little chance to kind of catch his breath. But he was very good. He was having a little problem with the name Manasa. He'd say it right once, and then the next time he'd fight himself on it. But other than that, he did an outstanding job. So if this guy ever sees this, you're good at hockey. He really did a job. Girls lost 2-1. There on Friday night to Prairie Center, which is a combination of Wadena Deer Creek, Sauk Center, Browerville, and Long Prairie Gray Eagle.
So it's a trip.
It's a trip. Yeah. So the girls lost 2-1 on Friday night, then went to Princeton on Saturday and took on Princeton, Becker, Big Lake. So those are 4 A schools, 3 of them combined together. The Broncos got outshot 57-11, and one of the text messages I got on the game said that Macy Marcotte was a ninja in goal. She stopped 53 shots, which is I think put her in 4th all-time for the number of saves in a hockey game.
Wow.
And so she had a heck of a night, but the Broncos lost that game 4-2. So they're 0-2 going into a big game this Saturday against the ladies from across the river, the Fort Francis Muskies. And the Muskies they had their first home game on Tuesday night, and they defeated Dryden 7-0. I don't know what that means. I just know that the Muskie girls team last year was pretty good, and they got everybody back. So it ought to be an interesting game Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Wish I was going to be there, but I'll be on my way south to watch the Bulldog hockey game against Colorado College. So that's where we get started with the winter sports season. This is Thursday night when we tape this. By the time some of you get to watch this, it'll be time to get ready for Bronco boys hockey as they take on the Little Falls Flyers. Tony Kuchar, Bronco grad, and I was discussing.
He was a fullback in my 5th, 6th grade football team. Can you?
Wow, that's a long time ago, Joe. That's a long time ago. I didn't look it up, and I should have, but I believe this is the 10th or 11th year in a row that Little Falls has come north to play International Falls in Virginia. And Cooch told me either last year or the year before, I said, why do you come north every year and not make the Broncos come south to you? And he said, love to bring my kids early in the season, get them stuck in a bus, and they got to learn to love one another. They got to learn to get along. They got to sleep in a hotel. They got to do this, whatever. And he said, the kids are used to that from playing hockey, but you got to get a team sense. And he says, this is the best time to do it early in the year. Get them on the bus, get them trapped in there, feed them what you're trying to sell them, and so that's why the Little Falls Flyers are coming to Bronco Arena again tomorrow night to take on the Broncos.
Everybody loves having Tony here.
Everybody loves Tony Cooch.
He's coming home.
He's coming home. So it ought to be an interesting. The Little Falls has had the better of the last few years in far as wins and losses, but we'll see what the Broncos, with their first game of the season, they did defeat North Shore the other night at the Jamboree in Virginia by a score of 3-2. What that all means, again, it's a scrimmage, it's a regulated scrimmage, so we'll see. I know they're going to be short a few kids because of injuries and ineligibilities, but we'll see what George McDonald and the crew get put together.
Well, hey, George is going to go at it as hard as he can, and you know he's a pro. He's been doing this for a long time. He knows what he wants to do. But I'll tell you, like you're describing the goaltender, hey, that really helps.
That really,
so that has to come together. Your defense has to come together. George is heading into a pretty tough league and a lot of good hockey players.
Yeah, and you know this Bronco hockey team has the core of its team that were football players this year.
Right.
And a lot of those kids were there. Some of those kids ran cross country. Some of the kids were trying out for the Lakers. So this is a team that lost some kids on the back end in Joe Glowacz and others, but also find there's some kids who have played hockey there for a while.
And it'd be interesting to see Jackson Germain on skates.
Yeah,
you get to know these kids as athletes all around, and hey, I got purple and gold blood. I'm pulling for that hockey team every chance you get.
Absolutely, and two junior goaltenders in Max Marcotte and Mitchell Nemec. So we'll see how, last year they alternated games. I suspect we'll see very much the same thing this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. And like I said, the Broncos at home Friday night. We'll have it for you on KCC TV, Midco Channel 7, and also online at kcc-tv.org and on YouTube and also on Facebook. So we're going to give this a whirl tomorrow night and see if everything goes right, and we'll have our first Bronco hockey game on the air on Friday night.
Making history all the time.
Making history. Girls basketball.
They're going?
Scrimmaged last Saturday in Virginia. Scrimmaged Tuesday night at Rainy River. Next Tuesday night, they are at home against Evelyn Gilbert. And our plans right now will be to have that game on KCC-TV
This is too much.
for you on Tuesday night. And some people might be saying, well, wait a minute, the girls' hockey season started. Why aren't you doing them on Saturday when they play Fort Francis? And as I mentioned, I have a different commitment. So we'll have girls' hockey, Bronco girls' hockey, the following Saturday when they take on Souptown, Superior.
Oh boy!
I bet you've been in Superior once or twice.
I have, and in fact, I competed in Superior once or twice. But as the sailors asked me, how many times have you been to Eloise? I only went to Eloise once.
There you go. So
I got a question for you. A basketball question. I read in the paper here that the Voyagers have themselves a couple of kids that can play buckets.
I would believe that, yes, they do. It doesn't surprise me. Bill's done a great job out there with the men's team, bringing in some athletes, and it'll be interesting to see them play at home. I think, if I remember the schedule right, and I'm going off the top of my head, 13th and 14th of December at home, and also the 20th and the 21st. So if you want a chance to get out early and watch this team and do your judging and see where this team is going to be, I'm going to try to get out there on one of those 4 days.
This sounds like it might be fun to watch.
Well, they've always had pretty good athletes and that like to play above the rim. Bill likes to have good defense, and when he's got a team that believes in playing good defense, they can contend. They can do some things. So I don't have any doubt that Bill Engel can make that happen and do those things. So.
No, good defense is every coach's dream. If you have that, it's at least as much fun as watching an offensive-orientated basketball team, and it's just...
Well, it's worked for Michigan State and a whole bunch of other coaches for a lot of years to do it that way. So,
that's right.
Girls basketball, as I mentioned, Evelyn Gilbert on Tuesday. There's some changes there. They lost a host of girls, but they've had some girls who have been playing quite a bit. So I'm interested to see how Chloe Sullivan and all these girls and the mix and Holly Wold at the point and how all things match up. So it's going to be an interesting game on Tuesday night, and we'll see where the girls end up and how things go. I just saw head coach Jay Boyle 45 minutes ago. He seemed fairly relaxed. So that's always a good sign.
It is for Jay. That's right.
But things really get started in earnest tonight. This is the first night that girls basketball teams can play games competitively against each other. The same thing for boys hockey. So things are going to get ramped up here in a big hurry. Boys swimming and diving, the Broncos have their first practice coming up on Monday. So good luck to Steve Joslin and his group of boys as they head into the swimming and diving season. I think their first home meet is on December 12th, and the plan is to have that on kcc-tv.org as well. Our first ever live swim meet on TV, so that'll be very interesting to see how that all goes, but that's the plan there. And before we leave high school sports, the championship games for football are set. They aren't this weekend.
Yeah.
They're next weekend, and I had a chance to watch a few of the semifinals on my phone and my computer. There's some athletes out there.
And there's some very good athletes out there. And I got a scouting report up from my Chaska team.
Yeah. And they've got their hands full.
Well, they do. And
but they're pretty good too.
Well, they are. And he says, we got a linebacker. He's 6'4", 240 pounds, and he's heading for UMD. And he just cleans up. And it's just, you get a key athlete like that on defense, and you get a few people around him, and you
let him run.
You can contain some pretty good football. Now, that's not who they play.
They got St. Thomas Academy.
St. Thomas Academy.
Who put a pretty good whooping on Elk River.
Yeah.
So. I was talking with our good friend, I guess not talking, texting, our good friend Bjorn Johnson, and he was out in Washington watching Chaska, and he said, asked me, are you watching Chaska? And I said, no, I'm not. And he says, can they run? He says, on defense, they are killers. So that 5A game on Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock next week is going to be a dandy. Suggs from SMB, from Minnehaha Academy, I had a chance to watch him. In the Star Tribune paper this week, they talked about the fact that it looked like he almost was like inviting the rush to him so he could run away from them. That's how athletic he is. You like Lamar Jackson?
Oh yeah.
He reminds me of Lamar Jackson.
Incredible feat. Just incredible feat.
It's amazing what he does. He makes it look so simple. So SMB, defending state champions in 4A, they look very tough to beat. Wayzata Champlin Park in the 6A game. The guy in the Minneapolis paper this week said, we got the right matchup. Everybody was hoping Lakeville North versus Lakeville South or Eden Prairie. The best two teams are in there. So if you're a big school fan of the cities, the Wayzata versus Champlin Park in 6A on Friday night.
We don't get much chance to watch a big school in action. I've been down to Chaska and Chanhassen. I know a bunch of the guys that were coaching down there. They really do put out some remarkable kids. They're just really fine athletes and really good kids.
Well, and you talk about the size of the kids, and you're starting to talk like Division III size school kids. I mean, with these big schools. I'm not saying they can compete with Division III kids. That's not what I'm saying. But you're getting that size kid. That you get a lot of them, and it's interesting. The game that I'm probably most interested in, though, is Minneapolis North versus Caledonia. Minneapolis North has been, kind of the phoenix that kind of rose out of the fire. They didn't have football for a few years. They started down in 9-man, worked their way up to 1A, now they're up to 2A. They've got a host of athletes. I had a chance to watch them. They got guys that can run everywhere. But then there's Caledonia, 66 in a row. 4 straight championships. They've got their athletes of their own. Caledonia's looking for their 5th straight state championship. Just a crazy number to think about. So that is the game that I am most interested in seeing. That game's on Friday afternoon, and I know where I'm going to be. I'm going to be sitting in US Bank Stadium with a newspaper and a beverage and something to munch on, and I'm going to have that football game in front of me, and it's going to be a great day. Hopefully.
Yeah, no, it's
because the weather can be bad on that Black Friday of Thanksgiving.
It certainly can. It certainly can.
Anything else high school wise you want to discuss?
I'll tell you what. I think this prep bowl. I was reading a Minneapolis paper, and they were going through these teams and what they've accomplished. This whole gamut of teams has lost a total of 6 games this year, and they're all 10-1, 11-0, and the majority of them are 11-0. They really do not understand the concept of losing, and that's what makes this tournament incredible. There's some very good teams out there, and
I
know you're going to have a good time. I know that's one of your favorite things.
It is. It's one of my traditions. One of those things that I don't like to miss. Let's move on to college football. Let's talk about the Gophers from last Saturday.
Well, I'll tell you, it's kind of like they only lost the game, but they lost their quarterback.
Yeah.
And
And it didn't. Did you see was there
right at the end, I think he took a shot, and it was kind of a shot to the jaw, but the jaw is attached to the head bone, and so they yanked him out, and he's still going through the concussion protocol. And that being said, I'm not sure they need him. He's been extremely effective quarterback, no two ways about it. But in case nobody remembers, Wisconsin's going to be here in 2 weeks, and so you have to keep that in touch, because if he's able to play, you want him to be playing in that game.
You want to be playing against Wisconsin, and I think the Gophers will be ready with one of their backups. I read about them in the Minneapolis paper today. They're young, obviously, they're freshmen, but they've been in some big games themselves, and it'll be interesting to see how Northwestern will take that, because now you've got a team that's been throwing the ball but likes to run the ball. Well, now maybe they become more one-dimensional, and I kind of interesting that with Green, I thought maybe they might just put him in at the quarterback and just say, look, we're gonna run it this way. We're gonna have Green in the backfield about 80% of the plays, and when we need to throw the ball, we're going to bring the other quarterback in rather than vice versa. But Fleck said that's not the way it's going to be. Green will maybe play a few more plays in running situations. But
hey, I like it when Big Seth comes in. I'm not really a Wildcat fan, but nobody runs that Wildcat like.
He's a big dude.
He is a big.
He's a big dude,
and he will hit you. And so
we don't have anything to worry about on Saturday when the Gophers play at 11 o'clock on ABC.
Yeah, that's easy to say, but no. You worry about it all. On top of that, there's other injuries down there. Dunlap is a little busted up in the offensive line, but who's to say that won't come back? These are pretty tough kids, but he took a beating in the Penn State game, and and he really didn't play last week. Didn't even make the trip to Iowa. And so whether or not he's back in, I don't know. Coach Fleck hasn't really called me up and told me that.
Hasn't given you the inside scoop yet. Okay.
But that being said, I didn't think they played that poorly.
A lot of people were saying, "Oh, they made such big mistakes at such critical times." I felt like after I watched them against Penn State and then watched them play Iowa, they were making the same mistakes against Penn State as they did against Iowa. The only difference was Iowa put it in the end zone when the Gophers made a mistake. Yeah. Penn State wasn't putting it in the end zone. The Gophers were bending but not breaking against Penn State. The scary part about that, you didn't think they played so bad. The Gophers were down 20-0.
Yes.
Or 20-3, whatever it was. Iowa scored their first 3 possessions and then got 3 points the rest of the game. So when you're when you're panicking, I don't know if there's too much to panic about yet.
Oh, I wasn't panicking. I
think there's a lot of people out there who are though panicking. Well, the Gophers, they lost Iowa. You got to remember, Iowa's ranked in the top 20 and is not a bad football team.
Listen, me and my pal are going to Indianapolis, and I want to put my Gopher shirt when I go. It's that simple. Anyway,
I understand that.
Tyler Johnson and Rashad Bateman, both of these guys are Tyler Johnson, he's up for first team Big Ten, and he should be. Rashad Bateman is the only Big Ten player to be named the Biletnikoff Award winner.
For semifinalists for that?
Semifinalists for that. And
definitely well deserved.
And the fun defensive guy that I watched this year, undoubtedly, is Anton Winfield, the junior, and he's up for a Nagurski. He's a Nagurski finalist, and Carter Coughlin, he's for a Nagurski finalist too. I just don't remember us producing that kind of people. And I'll tell you, I looked in the one magazine I got, and they were doing the predictions. Tyler Johnson was recognized. They didn't even have names down for the rest of these guys, and it's just they'll have names down for him now. I'll tell you that.
And I don't want to belabor the point on Tyler Johnson, but it's just too bad he dropped that pass.
Yes, it is.
If he'd have caught that ball and got into the end zone, we might be saying 10-0. And
yes,
I mean. things could have changed from there. Iowa might have played it differently and everything else.
The thing of it is, but a lot of times you're going to make some mistakes against really good teams because you are hearing footsteps, you are looking around, you take your eye for a split second. Even Tyler Johnson, who has incredible hands.
Yeah, it happens.
And they call it footsteps too.
Absolutely.
Is he not from North Minneapolis?
He is from Minneapolis. I didn't think he was from Minneapolis North. I thought he was from Minneapolis Patrick Henry, but I could be. I wanted to argue with the announcer on Saturday too, but I let it go. I figured there's no sense. No sense quibbling. Anything else about the Ghosts?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I can get into basketball in a second. But
let's stay with college football. Let's stay with the college football because we're gonna talk a big game coming up. But Penn State versus Ohio State on at the same time as the Gophers on Saturday.
Yes.
Who was the fool who scheduled that into my Saturday morning time, trying to get that taken care of? But that ought to be a dandy. Mankato in Division II football gets a bye.
Yes.
One of the top 4 seeds in the Division II tournament.
Hey, nobody's even come close to touching these guys. Well, that's
Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls did, and they're the number 6 seed. They get to take on Colorado School of Mines. And Augustana, also out of the NSIC, they get on Colorado State Pueblo. So Mankato gets a week off to rest up and see if they can make a run towards the Division II title. Division III, St. John's. Only team that from the MIAC that got in. St. Thomas got the snub.
Well, I suppose that's right.
Because?
Well, because St. John's beat them.
Well, okay, but if I say St. Thomas should have made it, and the reason why they didn't make it was because they're leaving Division III football or trying to leave Division III football, is that the reason why they didn't get into the tournament?
Yes, it's probably
true.
Probably true.
So
they're good at it.
So you want to talk about the college football game of the weekend? Do you want to do that right now, or do you want to wait with that?
Let's take a look at what we can do this anytime. We're talking one of the big games this year, this week. Penn State and Ohio State. That's a big one.
Yep.
Now we take a look. For us, of course, the Northwestern game is big. Is there another game in the Big Ten that's one of those real significant type games?
Well, the Cheeseheads could go and lose. That'd be okay.
Yeah, they could. I'll tell you what. Are they playing Illinois?
No, they lost. They already lost to Illinois.
Well, who's playing Illinois?
Illinois plays. Oh my God.
Michigan? No.
Is it Iowa? No.
It's Iowa.
Is it Iowa?
It's Iowa. But I'm going to tell you, that Illinois team is not a bad football team.
No, definitely improving.
Yeah.
So, you want to talk about H and Y? You want to go there, or you want to wait till the end to talk about Harvard and Yale?
We can go there to the end.
At the end. Okay, we'll go at the end. We'll bring that up. Okay, let's. You want to talk about Gopher wrestling first?
You want to talk about the other college games that are going to be on?
Well,
it's. I thought I wrote them down, but I probably left it on my.
I only wrote because those are the only two top 25 games that I was worried about, because 8 versus 2 and the Gophers are 10.
So everybody, if I tell you UCLA is playing USC, what are you going to say?
I'm going to say, let's hope that thing falls in the Pacific Ocean. That's what Tim's going to say.
My old team, Boise State, is playing Utah State, but I tell you, these 9:30 games are getting to be a little bit ridiculous. In a blue field, my eyeballs are rolling by 11 o'clock, and it's a long Saturday when those guys play at the end.
What about your boys from Army?
Who the heck is Army playing?
I didn't even look it up. They could be having a bye.
And they're in pretty good shape. They took on VMI last week and handled them quite handily. Their defense is back. Their offensive line is being healed up. They had to replace almost the entire offensive line this year. The quarterback situation, it's one of the things where they lose their starting quarterback, who was the second team quarterback at the beginning of the year, and that you don't miss a lot of beats, although they're two very much different kinds of quarterback. The other team that we're pinnacling to is Navy, and they're playing SMU. Now, the concern that I have about Navy is how much snooze was taken out of them when they played Notre Dame.
Very much so.
Speaking of which, Notre Dame plays Boston College this weekend. And that might be really interesting.
BC versus Notre Dame, yes. That brings up some memories from 30 years ago.
Yes.
So,
there's definitely some football this weekend. There's no two ways about it.
There's some football to be watched.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? You want to talk about? You want to talk Gopher wrestling, or you want to talk basketball? Which one do you want to go to?
Well, I'll tell you what. Basketball. The Gophers are playing Central Michigan on Friday, and they need a kind of turnaround game. And I think it's like South Dakota on Sunday or Monday. So they need these games because otherwise they're getting beat up by these other schools that are pretty good. They lost to Utah. They lost to Butler.
And the scary part is they fell behind 21-0, I believe, to Utah, and had a chance in the last few minutes if things would have went their way to have a chance to win that. So good comeback on the road. A horrible start. I don't even know how to explain that, but. The Gophers are concerned. They're 1-3. They didn't expect to be 1-3.
No, they did not.
But they played 3 pretty good teams away from home. So let's chalk that up into the experience column, and let's use those losses as a learning mechanism rather than what the media writers want to be like. Oh, they're in big trouble
Keep in mind, all these games are warm up for the Big Ten season.
Well, and you don't want to lose to somebody bad, but losses to Oklahoma, Butler, and at Utah.
That's not bad.
Those are losses, but they're not bad losses. So you can look at that and do whatever. But maybe the bigger news this week for Gopher basketball was that they lost out on that prime recruit from Chaska. Was it Chaska? Chaska. The 6'11" kid that's going to end up going to Marquette. I cannot think of his name right now for the life of me. I was going to write it down and didn't, but that one's going to hurt. He's a 5-star player, and they lost out on him, and that's too bad. It upsets me that we can't keep more of these Minnesota kids at home. I understand we only have one real Division I basketball team that we can keep these kids in, and if you don't like Richard Pitino, that mix doesn't work for you. I understand.
They're scattered all over the country.
But we got talent that's going all over the country, and it's crazy. And so that might have been, well, Richard Pitino said this might be the toughest last 7 days that he's had since he was the coach of the Gophers for the last 6 years. He said this might have been the toughest week because of the 3 losses and the loss of the recruit, the kid out of Chaska. So it's just one of those things.
No, I want to bring up a name here. His name is Pat Spencer. He's the point guard. He's the point guard for Northwestern. Okay. He is also an All-American lacrosse player.
Yeah.
He's there as a senior graduate student, and my sources say that he's averaging 9 points and 8 points, 8 rebounds, a whole bunch of assists. 6'5". He's got a nice jump, but he hasn't played the game in a number of years, and so he just says, Pat Spencer. Keep an eye on him, lacrosse player.
Keep an eye on Pat Spencer.
Yeah. Okay. Gopher notes. It's like. The Gophers they're playing Oklahoma. They're wrestling Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And so this John Smith down there in Oklahoma State has a very, very good wrestling team, and so the guys are preparing, and they're doing it without their major heavyweight. Ta-da! Who should show up? And I didn't actually know this. Gable Stevenson has an older brother that is filling in little brother's shoes. His name is Bobby Stevenson, and he wrestled. He was a 98 pounder, and he is wrestling up at 285, and he looks just like his little brother. And frankly, I'd be concerned if I was wrestling either one.
Yeah.
So, but these guys are,
Did the red flag go up on Friday night, though, when they lost to Ryder at home in a duel?
It did, and it did. But Ryder's not a bad team either, and they've had more than their share. You'll see down there, there'll be a couple of guys from Ryder in the NCAA place.
Oh, absolutely.
I wonder if there's a couple of guys from Minnesota that'll be in it. That's a concern.
I think we'll see a few there. Yeah, I think that's a definite. There is something to like about the Gopher wrestling team. Duels can be interesting. Years back, Penn State was winning national championships. Well, they're still winning national championships. But the Gophers would beat them in duels.
Yes.
Because
they could match up their weight.
They could match up and do the things that they needed to do. But when they get into the big ones, they didn't always have that talent. So it's interesting to think about the duel. And like I said, a red flag went up for me last Friday. But at the same time, you have to remember, like I said, duels, sometimes you give up the extra points, a major or a pin or something, and all of a sudden that can turn the whole momentum of the duel. So, but the Gophers need to find a way, and winning against Oklahoma State would be a good thing in getting the worm turned in the right direction.
Well, tell me about UMD hockey.
Well, last weekend that loss at Miami on Friday night, even though it was a 1-goal loss, that one the voters, they didn't like that. The RPA they didn't like the fact that they lost to them on the road. So they've got Colorado College this weekend, who's been down for many years. So the Dogs have to take care of business this weekend because they got number 1 Mankato coming the following weekend. And of course, Mankato has been one of those programs that has been very, very good the last few years. Last year they were, I think, the number 3 or number 2 overall seed in the tournament, lost in the first round. So they seem to have maybe that St. Cloud State disease. They play very well during the regular season, but when they get to the playoffs, things go awry. So the Dogs have 2 big series here before their break, both of them at home, thankfully for them. And if they could scrap together 4 wins there heading into 2020, I think they'll be all right. They lost Dylan Sandberg, the defenseman out of Hermantown, who didn't play last week. Doesn't sound like he's going to play this weekend. They already had lost another defenseman, so they were already only playing with 5 defensemen. So now they had to bring some guys up that I think they were hoping either to hide a little bit or redshirt and not have to play. They've been forced into action. So there's a little bit of a concern there. Hopefully they'll get healthy. Hopefully Sandberg having 1 more week off and he'll be ready for Mankato. I don't know that, but I'm hoping. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Yeah. No. I know that arena's filled and people are going crazy, and it's just.
And you got to remember, every time that the Bulldogs go out and play somebody, they are the 2-time defending champs. So what is every team thinking? We got to go get that win against the Bulldogs, and so they get their best shot. But that only makes them better, and so. The UMB women's hockey gets the Gophers this weekend at Amsoil on Friday and Saturday afternoons.
That should be interesting.
Yeah, the Gophers, number 1 team in the nation. They've been taking care of business pretty well.
They hammered Bemidji State pretty good last weekend.
So the Dogs have their hands full. I'd like to see them sneak a win out of there. 1 win would be really good.
As an old dog, anytime you can sneak a win from the Gophers, you've done well.
That's a good weekend. Absolutely. And Gopher volleyball, they've got Nebraska on Friday night. Woo, that's a top 10 matchup.
That's Friday. Oh, yeah.
That's on Friday, so that one is going to be very interesting. This is the last weekend of the regular season, and then we'll see where the Gophers get seated. I would guess somewhere where they'll get 2 home weekends in a row with a chance to see if they can get to Pittsburgh.
These Gopher and Big Ten volleyball players, per se, they're incredible athletes. They're so strong and they can jump so high. And I mean, they're not. Some of them aren't even that tall. They can get up in the air and just really hammer it.
It's fun to watch.
It's fun to watch.
It's really fun to watch. Okay, you want to talk a little bit about the Vikings?
Listen, before we get to the Vikings,
what else you got?
Well, I just want to talk about Miles Garrett, and
Oh!
Mason Rudolph.
The whole idea that a racial slur was used somewhere along the way in the game came out today.
I heard that, yes.
7 days later it came out. Wasn't that kind of pertinent information
On the
6 days
spot?
ago, on the spot 6 days ago? And I'm not saying it didn't happen, but man, if this is the reason why you ripped his helmet off and smashed him in the skull with it, I'm more apt to be okay with it. I hate this. I'm not condoning that kind of crapola. But I'm a lot better with it if you used a bad word against. If Rudolph really did that, then he probably got what he deserved.
Well, and the other thing is that I've had people and read interviews in which they talk about how nice the guy Miles Garrett is, and he's just, it's just.
So what provoked him is what you're. Is that where you're going with that?
You and I have both done terrible things on the football field, but it's ordinary people don't know that. But these guys are really big and strong, and he wrapped him right in the noggin with that helmet. I mean, he could have really hurt him.
He really could have hurt him. Yes, absolutely.
And that's about the only thing that I too much. Anyway, I have down for the Vikings. What a game! What a game!
What a game.
The first half, and I remember talking to you, and you said as good as our teams played last week, they played just awful this week. And then Cousin, he kicked them in gear, and away they went.
The two games were so similar. Last week when the Gophers and the Vikings won, and then they looked so poorly exactly the same way, both down big at halftime. Both teams came back in the second half. The Vikings able to pull it off. Just crazy how that goes, how momentum gets going. Boy, did Jaron Kearse come up big with a couple of big defensive plays on that last series. Holy
really
cow.
He did one and then bam, another, and it's just, and I sometimes wonder about, the defensive secondary, and I mean, I don't want to say this, are they a little bit slow? Are they
Xavier Rhodes, is he hurt? I speculated with somebody the other night, and I don't even know if I should bring it up here, but I will say it this way. He's either injured or he's doing something illegal, okay? And that's how I'm going to put it. Because Xavier, he's well, and everybody loses a step. He's not getting any younger. So it could be that he's lost a step, but I hope that it's an injury, and I wish they would get him off the field because other teams have figured it out. They have noticed that Xavier Rhodes cannot do the things that he used to be able to do. At this time, he cannot do them. And a week off with the bye this week probably is exactly what the doctor proverbially ordered. It needs to be done. He's got to go do some soul searching. He's lost his mojo. He's lost his cockiness. He's lost his whatever.
Oh, and this is from a man who one time was the best.
Yeah. And somebody said to me, "Did you see how far he's playing off He's playing like 8 yards off. I mean, before he used to be like
right
this."
There. Yeah.
So it's something that
The first time he got beat real bad, he rolled over and I didn't know who it was, and when I saw his name, I was a little bit stunned because you hadn't seen him play any play that poorly before.
No, and it's something needs to happen.
Yes.
So great comeback by the Vikes. Our good boy, our boy Delvin Cook didn't get going very much, but the Denver game reminded me so much of the Chicago game, where we were kind of being stubborn. We're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball. And then finally they figured it out. Thankfully, before the fourth quarter, they finally figured out, look, they're taking the run away from us. What can we do? Let's throw the ball a whole lot more. And so good for them. I'm not saying, the scary part is I was thinking 8-3. There's only 5 teams that are above 500, above that 500 mark with 8 wins or more in the NFC. So I was kind of thinking, well, they're into the playoffs. And then I went, wait, they could lose 5 games in a row and end up 8-8 and miss the playoffs.
Wild card club right now, even with if they kept this up. Green Bay is a really, really good football team. Let's see what they do this week. This is a big week for them.
Yeah, the San Francisco game on Sunday night with the Packers is going to be an interesting. Some people might be saying that it could be a a preview of the NFC Championship game, and it could be.
It very well could be.
It could have that feeling, and so it'll be a great game on Sunday night. I might even watch a little bit of it.
No, and I mean, Seattle and Philadelphia are playing this week. Green Bay, Dallas, and New England should be interesting. The Carolina Panthers and New Orleans. New Orleans is kind of a strange football team these days. Talk about not getting mojo working. They should go down to.
And where's Atlanta coming from? After they beat New Orleans and then kicked the bejeebers out of Carolina, it's just like, what's going on? I don't know.
The game I have a star by.
A star by it.
Baltimore and Los Angeles. That's Monday night, and I'm gonna watch this new young man that I've really taken a like.
Talk about a team that's lost their mojo. How about the LA Rams losing their mojo?
They were going to be the team of the 21st century. What are they? Were they 5-4, 5-3?
It's 5-4, I think.
5-4.
And they might, they've lost their swagger. They last year you couldn't touch them, and they were so red hot. This year, and that's the thing. Teams figure out what you're doing, and you keep going, well, it's going to work. It used to work. It had to work.
Yeah.
They've got to find a way to try something new, and that's what good coaches can do, and I'm sure McVay will make it happen. He'll find a way to adjust what he's doing and make the changes. He's a young buck still a young coach, and he'll have to learn.
And he's got a quarterback that believes in him, and any time that you believe in your system and your coaches, you can get a lot done.
I have that.
Look at New England. Although New England, they've got their hands full with this young Baltimore team. I do believe
Going to be interesting.
it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be fun. Come January.
Some January, yes.
Anything else you want to talk before we talk about that Harvard-Yale thing?
Jeez, I just go through my notes. I don't think so. I even got Pat Spencer in there.
We ain't even going to talk about the Wild and the Wolves. I don't know what the Wild are doing. They play so well, and they get Colorado tonight. They got to go to Boston and New York over the weekend and on Monday, and the Wolves play Phoenix on Saturday night. I'm interested to see what happens with Phoenix.
I've been hearing some things about the Wolves.
Yeah, they got Wiggins back, and that helped.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful. Wiggins, I was ready to get rid of Wiggins, and then maybe the Wolves were smarter than Tim was.
That was my report from the Guru in Minneapolis too. And he says, have you seen him play? And I says, bits and pieces. He says, watch a game.
Well, and here's the thing. I think he has a coach in Ryan Saunders that they're on the same page.
Maybe,
Wiggins was not on the same page with Thibodeau.
I don't think so.
I know a lot of people thought the Wolves shouldn't have kept Saunders. I'm a Saunders fan, and not because of whatever. He's not Phil Jackson. He's not whatever. But what he is he understands this team. He gets along with this team. They're going in the same direction. It's kind of like Rocco Baldelli with the Twins. He's young, and they can talk to him, or they can associate with him, or they can whatever they do. But there's a chemistry there.
Well, I know one thing they won't do with Benelli is they're not going to fire him.
No,
They won't do that.
No, they're not going to do that. So.
Incredibly popular.
Good to see Odorizzi sign back up with the Twins.
Yes.
That was, I think he's looking for a bigger paycheck in the end. I think he decided, hey, the Twins team, that I can stick around for a year, and then maybe I can get a bigger offer the following year.
That's how you play the game.
That's how you play the games. Yeah. But you want to stick with a winner, and.
But one thing we're talking about, we brought up earlier, was college and whether or not the kids should get paid. I read an article today, and they were talking about our Alabama quarterback Tao, and they just says because I don't think he should have even been on the field.
Yeah.
And they says this is an example of why he should be getting paid some money. And I thought that was a pretty good point.
It's an interesting thought.
An interesting thought because
thought.
He's worth money, but he had that club out there that he had so taped up, and it's just that slows you down on other parts of your game. It just does not make everything sink, and it's
gonna be interesting to see if he can come back with that hip.
It will.
Hips are tough.
They are.
Hips are tough. You want to bring Dale in?
Yeah.
Dale Johnson.
Hey, Dale.
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 Come on over, have a chair, if you would. So we're gonna talk about the game of the weekend, though. This is the game, right?
This is the game.
So
This is it. You can see my T-shirt. This
got
is from last year.
the game.
This is the game.
Come on over this way. Yeah, we'll sneak you in back around here. We'll put you right in here between George and I.
Okay, so Dale was at the 50th anniversary of the game, and they did it in Fenway Park.
Yep.
And so he always wanted to play against Yale, the Bulldogs, and all the rest of that. To really make it bad, he got himself a dachshund. So there's no Bulldogs here.
Or Beagles,
Or Beagles.
Or
Oh,
Beagles.
geez, I'd leave my Beagles. Listen, Tim, we talk about what are the great rivalries now? We all like Ohio State and Michigan, the Army-Navy game, Wisconsin, Minnesota. I thought I'd throw that out. But the longest rivalry in sports is between Harvard and Yale, started in 1850s with rowing. I don't know if they had the sculls or what they had then, but in 1852 there was the first competition between these two schools. Now, on Saturday, they're going to go up and they're going to strap on for what they laughingly refer to as the game. And they've been, I think, calling it the game for maybe 100 years. They've been calling it the game for a long, long time. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, tonight, I just want to talk for a second about the 1968 Harvard-Yale game. And it was amazing. Both teams were 8-0. And Yale was ranked 16th in the nation, and they had a guy that was called the quarterback's Messiah. His name was Brian Dowling.
Okay.
And he had a running back that his name was Calvin Hill, and of course he went on with the Dallas Cowboys and did
Very nice
did
career.
really well. And I was looking up, and they said he was as good a receiver as he was running back in college because he was tall, he was big, he could catch anything, and nobody could catch him. So it worked out.
He was also Olympic class triple jumper.
Yeah, not too shabby.
He had, okay. So this phenom named Brian Dowling had literally never lost a football game. From the 7th grade all the way up, had never lost a football game. And, Yale going into this game were heavy favorites. Everybody knew it. Harvard, in spite of the fact being 8-0, had very little chance. Okay, the first quarter was all Yale. Now, I wrote this down, and he can edit anything out. But Dowling, he was all over the place. He scored a pair of touchdowns on quarterback sweeps. Those are those little Molosky sweeps where he has everybody in the world leading in front of him, and he just kind of steps in the corner. He did that twice. On the next drive, they went down and hit Calvin Hill in the back of the end zone. Beautiful. It was a beautiful catch, but it was a beautiful throw. And Dowling not only could throw well, but he loved to scramble. And this is how he made his living. So, but
He was a big guy too.
he was a big guy, yeah. Yale was going to run away with this game. Everybody could see that. 22-0 first quarter. Second quarter, however, was scoreless. The third quarter, Harvard started some success when they replaced their quarterback with Frank Champy, the backup quarterback. And Dale explained he knew these guys. But one story they said, from the get-go, Harvard had to adjust to a new quarterback. Champy was from Boston and had a strong Bostonian accent, which was difficult for the guys from the Southwest or Midwest to understand. My friend Frank said, Frank must have been a little nervous. Champy called the play and broke the huddle. His offensive line had no idea what he called. Needless to say, the play went nowhere. Well, he picked up after that. And finally, Harvard scored a touchdown, and the score was 22-7. Late in the third quarter, and I mean, going right into the fourth quarter, Yale scored another touchdown, making it 29-7. But Harvard started coming on. Late in the fourth quarter, Harvard scores again, and with 46 seconds left, they try an onside kick, but Yale recovers. So
It's over.
it's over.
Stick a fork in them.
Dowling threw a beautiful screen pass down to about the 30-yard line, he just got tagged and fumbled the ball. Harvard recovers. This is from 46 seconds to now we're about maybe 6-8 seconds have gone. And so with 36 seconds left, Harvard retains the ball. Champy goes back, and I watch this on film, throws the ball, somebody just tips it a little bit. But instead of falling to the ground, it falls into, what the heck was the kid's name? Frank, let me see where it is.
Oh, that's the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, Frank. It was Bruce Freeman.
Okay.
And so he goes about 65 yards down to about the 10-yard line. The next play, Harvard scores, and so it's now 29-27. 29-27. Well, no, not yet.
No?
Harvard was still trailing 29, or they were 16. Okay, they throw it was 29-21. 10 seconds had elapsed. That's it. The onside kick was perfect. Everybody in the world knew this was coming, and they cruised right down the sidelines. Boom, boom, boom. Great big pile. Harvard comes up with it. So they line up again. 36 seconds left, and they have the ball. Champy had to throw it away once or twice, and then he found. What the heck was his name? Not yet. He got Vic Gatto. And Vic Gatto, he must not have been a very big guy.
No, he wasn't
a very big guy. But he caught the touchdown pass. They're going nuts. So now it's 29-27. And so, what are they going to do? Well, in my mind, I'm watching it. This is fate. There is no way that they're going to stop Harvard from scoring these 2 points. And Champy dropped back and hit Freeman again, Freeman for the 2 points. The score was 29-29. When they scored the touchdown, there was no time left. That was when Gatto caught the pass. They threw it up in the clock. There was nothing on the clock, so they had to. They ran the 2-point conversion with nothing on the clock. So. Next day in the Harvard Crimson, that was your magazine?
Paper,
yeah.
Newspaper, yeah.
Harvard beats Yale 29-29.
And you got to remember, this was before the internet, so a lot of the people from Yale that left early didn't know they hadn't won the game till the next morning, and they saw it in the paper.
Wow.
They went home thinking they won.
Sure.
Yeah, no way, they left early,
There's one thing, I could ask Dale right off the bat. You're on the sidelines.
Yep.
What was that last 35, 40 seconds?
Just standing up, just hollering, shouting,
The coaches?
It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And everybody just, this doesn't happen, right? But you get that feeling, and it starts to move.
A glow didn't come out from the sky and take part
No.
I was wondering.
No intervention from outer space or anything.
No, there was a couple of people that played on there. We mentioned Dowling and Calvin Hill, but one of the offensive linemen was Tommy Lee Jones, the very fine actor, and a good friend of Dale's. And I met these people way long time ago. Richie Zaro, and he kicked for the New Orleans Saints.
Okay.
And this kid was something. Explain. Tell him about Richie.
Richie, they snuck out of Poland, communist Poland, him and his parents, and they made it to New York. His dad was a janitor. His mother was maid in New York. They were Catholic. They went to St. Michael's in New York, broke Frank Gifford's scoring record. He had a contract to play professional soccer with the New York Cosmos out of high school.
Wow.
The president of Pan Am got him in a plane. He was a Harvard alum, convinced him to go to Harvard instead. So the first year I played with him as a freshman, he was great. He was working construction during that summer. Stepped on a nail and kind of ended his running career. He stepped on a nail with his right foot. But being a soccer player, he used to kick field goals with his right foot. He just started kicking with his left foot.
Yeah, he hit the extra.
That's pretty
points in this
talented.
game. And he was a serious character. You think all these, Harvard sophisticates and stuff like that. Maybe not so much. But there were some other guys that I watched: Johnny Ballantyne, Gus Grimm, a Champy, a guy named Rick Reed, Bruce Freeman, Vic Otto, Tommy Lee Jones, Rich Zarro, a friend that he introduced me to. Paul Mazzaracchio was another great big Sicilian guy, and
From the-
Dale. One other thing, the coach at Yale was Carmen Gazzo, and he said this was the worst defeat of his career, and he didn't lose. One other item on this, the Yale had a newspaper, and they had a cartoonist, and this guy's name was Gary Trudeau, and Gary Trudeau created this character called BD, and he was the guy that ran around with the Yale football helmet on. That was Brian Dowling. And the whole concept of Doonesbury came up, and they said students would rush to the Union Center Monday morning to see Trudeau's cartoons, because it was very popular and people could see that he was.
You can still see him today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And other people said in 1968 there was a lot of activity, anti-war activity. There was a lot of cultural stuff going on. It was a center for that, and he said, I wear my ROTC uniform to football practice, and I get grief about it and laugh about it, but he says there was never an issue with teammates, so they would have this whole political point of view from one to the other.
Yeah, we had one guy that had already served his term in Vietnam and was back and playing defensive back for us.
Sure.
He's obviously the oldest guy on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just saying is that this Harvard-Yale game is a great game, and the 68 one was really an exceptional one. They've written books about it, made movies about it, and now let me ask you one last question. Was there a party on campus?
I guess so. I don't remember.
I'm taking the 5th, I think.
Anyway, that's my story.
We've gone extra time this week because we are taking next week off due to Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So we wish everybody a happy Turkey Day, and we'll be back in the first week of December. Don't forget, we'll have Bronco hockey on Friday night, Bronco girls basketball on Tuesday night, and then we'll be back in December, and we'll get you all set up for on our next show what's going on in December.
Well, that's it. My friend, our guest here, he's going to the Wisconsin game, and then he's going to accompany me to Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship game. We just want to wear maroon, that's all.
Yep.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Yep.
Thanks, Dale, for being on.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
the stories. We'll talk to everybody soon.
Okay.
This program brought to you by Brewski's Bar and Grill, located in Utica, Minnesota. Your one-stop shop for delicious burgers, fries, pizzas, and more.